and welcome to this tutorial on the deliverable. In this tutorial, we'll be going over the documentation aspect of the project. This way, it'll be more simple for you guys to know what to put in your document and actually spend more time on the content versus you trying to guess what was expected and you lose points just because there's missing parts due to confusion. So let's get started. SRS and SAD are things you've always produced for your systems. From SOEN 341, 343, 344, the list goes on, so you know what to put for these. I'm going to focus more on the agile process, so things like backlog, sprint, plannings are things that are going to be new to your documentation, and also your code repo. So whatever you have in your main branch is also evaluated. So having things like non-readable code, non-commented code, or just copy-pasted code to try to see if a feature would work well in this project, you don't want to have in your main branch because it will get graded and, well, it would really suck to lose marks for something that was still in dev. So it should have been in dev. So for the process of this, how it goes is every 3 weeks you're going to have to submit this document with new parts to this. We'll cover what is different in each part in the next slide. Something I want to emphasize on is most of this could be done early on in the sprint. So if you spread it out throughout the 3 weeks, you'll have a very easy breezy time doing this. And when it comes down to submission dates, you're just going to submit with an ease of mind after proofreading what everybody did. Versus leaving this to the last weekend and powering through this, it's going to drive you crazy. It's going to take you the entire weekend to do this documentation if you were waiting for the last minute. Next is our little broken down board, basically, of what to expect in your sprint one. Your user stories backlog is basically what is the feature that you're going to build throughout this project. You were given 50% of these features, and we gave you some creative lay, basically, to come up with another 50% of features that you find would add great value to this project. Your release plan is something you've done in 384 and your Lego project, workshop, sorry. And so you've seen that sometimes underestimating or overestimating costs you. So try to base it on previous sprints and try to get a good average of knowing how much you could chew so you don't take a too big of a bite. Software architecture, you want to focus a lot on domain diagrams, class diagrams, but a very overall view of this because you want to make sure the entire team knows how the system is going to communicate together and how is it going to work so that you don't end up with team members creating dummy classes. And when it comes to merging, you're going to have a lot of conflicts and what class do we use? Yeah, but you have attributes, you don't. So this would really save you a lot of time in the long run. Risk assessment and risk management is something also you've seen in 384. So an example of risk assessment is saying a person might drop out, he's not sure he's going to stay for this course, he's getting some administration problems. This poses as a risk, as much as a technology that you've never used before also poses as a risk. And you want to actually have a plan for how you're going to manage this risk. So in case the person actually drops out, what are we going to do? We're going to reassign the tasks. We're going to take another person. Anything that is valid to that assessment has to go into the management aspect. UI mockups is very essential, especially in the beginning phase, because it's what your client is going to base the look and feel of what direction your project is going. And this is your first initial good feedback you get from your client when showing him the overall layout of the app. They kind of get a feel of, oh, this is what you meant by saying this and this and that. Versus when you try to describe features, it's very vague, it's very out there. So sometimes you'll get an okay, and when you actually build a feature, it's like, no, that's not what I understood. Whereas the visual mockups are going to help a lot. Test plan is as simple as what is it you're going to code, how you're going to test it. If you have something that's location based, you're going to do dummy locations, or if it's something that you need Bluetooth and you need how you're going to test it. And actually producing those unit tests for your project is going to help you a lot when it comes down to your next sprints. Because every time you're going to refactor code, you're not going to go try every single feature in your app. At first, it might sound doable, but when you're in your sprint 3, there's no way you're going to try every time you compile new code. So having a good test suite is going to save you a lot. For sprint 2, so now you see that some things are just going to be needed to be updated versus some things are still going to be new. So if you look here, UI mockups are still new based on feedback that you got. Release plan for Sprint 2 is going to be new. And also here we have defect tracking. This is very crucial. So as your team members are using the app, you're going to notice some bugs. You want to have a log of those so that you actually tackle them, or actually have somewhere to say, we knew about this and this is to be tackled in the next sprint, versus having the client playing with your app doing a demo and then clicking on that button and then you realizing, oh, that's the bug that and then you can't explain it. You have nowhere that it was logged, so it looks like you never knew about this. So very essential. Sprint 3, again, you're starting to get a feel of this. So I'm just going to focus on the new sections. Mockups we've talked about. Sprint 3, now you're doing it based on previous assessments. And the quality report. Quality report is intertwined with SonarQube, for example. It basically checks your test code versus your actual code and gives you an idea that you are actually covering all your code paths that you've seen in SOEN 345. But not just that. You also have duplicated code smells. Quality report is going to allow you to see that you're actually doing the same thing in multiple places, and it can ideally be merged together. Sorry for that little. Last sprint is your sprint 4, and basically you're just updating everything, making sure everything is up to date before you submit. That's your last submission, and this is where you hand off. And now you're waiting for your demos. End of sprint, demos. It's very important, as well as you've done throughout all sprints. The last impression you leave is very crucial. So you don't want to be in your last demo having some things not working and then saying, yeah, but it used to work. You're going to leave the client with an impression that, oh, they demoed their final project and it didn't work. So do whatever you need to make it work so that it actually reflects all that effort that you put in all 4 sprints. And with that, we finish this tutorial, and we'll see each other for the presentation tutorial.